And welcome back to Tales from the Couch, the final segment of this little block that we record on. Jeremiah's going to kick off first because he might be leaving any minute now.
Yes, so my story is part 2 of last week's story.
Gosh.
Now I talked about Boggle, the construct witch who's was the avatar of Halloween and Samhain, how he killed Sauron, who took levels in Darth Vader and prestige into Vladimir. Or Voldemort, I mean. Or Vladimir if you want to go topical. Anyways, but, so I re-rolled a bard because that character instantly became level 20. So I'm like, alright, he's clearly an NPC, so I rolled a bard. Our party, really level 4 or level 3, I think, at this time. And we went up against an encounter, which is, I think, I think it was underpowered. We were fighting 3 goblins and 2 dire rats. A dire rat's a CR 1/3, this is Pathfinder, and a goblin I think is 1/3.
Yeah, they're all 1/3.
So, but those 3 goblins make a CR 1, and then each additional enemy would make a +1 CR, because every additional enemy is a +1 CR.
Yep.
So, I think appropriately leveled encounter for 4 players, I think it was, because there was me as a bard, so I love bards, and we had a druid, a cleric, and a fighter. We go through the dire rat, the first dire rat, and the 3 goblins fine, and the other dire rat, he's there, and he's been rolling okay. Mind you, my friend Steven, we roll on a dice tray, so we've been rolling the entire time just fine. And the last dire rat that's left, and they only have 8 hit points. And it was down to 4, and we're like, okay.
Fighter should hit it once.
Yeah, we should, alright, we finish it off. It has an AC of 15 also, just to clarify. Alright, there it is. Let's finish it. And from then on, for some reason, the players, all of our dice combined, we would roll minimums of 5 and under. Mainly 1s. We were I'm glad I played characters that don't really rely on weapons, so I wasn't dropping weapons. But our fighter was I just had popcorn. I just his sword's gone. It's always gone. And his shield's gone. He's just I don't need the shield. And the dire rat would mainly roll between 16 to 20, mainly 20. Within 4 rounds, the dire rat's already gone well through the neck of our fighter. He's already made his way through the fighter's sternum. It's he's already eaten through the fucking crest. We gotta, and the druid went down next, and we're holy hell. The cleric was alright, I'm just yeah, I got your back, buddy. And the cleric was starting to eat him, alright. And then I shut the door and left. Because there was, we couldn't. It's when the guy walks into a casino and he goes to the craps table and he rolls 7, 77 times in a row. It's astronomically improbable, but not impossible. And this was that moment where we all roll 1s and the game master rolls nothing but 20. It's where a goblin can kill a wabbajack if it just if the wabbajack keeps rolling 1s. The goblin statistically could kill it if it just rolls 20s because it's a critical versus a botch system. Yep. And the dire rat just killed our whole party, but me, I ran away. I just made this character.
His name is Sir Robin.
I hardly knew you guys. You picked me up in a tavern and we just left and got mugged by some dire rats and goblins on the side of the road. So I ran back to the tavern, and that's where I met the new player. That's where I met their new characters. Jesus Christ, my friends were just murdered, and we always have
your friends were murdered. We'll join your party.
Yeah, quickly help me. And that dire rat, we couldn't find it, but later, lore, he's oh, the dire rat was wearing a special leash, which when it came off, he was actually a super intelligent ratkin, and the leash was just making him a stupid dire rat, and he became the new Sauron. He became the Rat King, and we had to. It was the Nutcracker, and we had to fight
3-headed rat. Yeah.
And we had to fight the Rat King. He was actually a really powerful Rat King, or a Ratkin who was in disguise as a dire rat.
Huh? Yeah, he had a little monk. He had to.
Yeah, it was
flat wisdom dex.
I mean, he was using the stats for a dire rat. It's just he admitted that later, as a joke, because that hit clearly leveled from that encounter. That dire rat would level from that encounter.
He probably would level 6 by the end of that.
Yeah. It was ridiculous because we were also almost at full health by the time we got to the last dire rat, and it was almost dead. And we're okay, this is going to be a sweep up. don't get cocky.
It's literally
Like-
it's the Monty Python bunny.
It became the Monty Python bunny. It's like it's sharp teeth. Like that's how I like. That's
Pointy
what I did when
Yeah.
when I ran back to the tavern. I'm like, you don't look at the boys. The sharp pointy teeth are gnarly, and like that's what I became. Because like, like and my character had like a phobia of rats after that. Like, I'd wake up in the night with like cold sweats, like rats, reading through the fire. And just God, like it was ridiculous, and at least it was funny. But just because because we're all min-max, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not like any illusions here. The fighter had an 18 strength,
Yeah.
and probably like an 8 in charisma. So let's say and so he has, and plus his base attack of level 3, so that's a 3. It's plus 7 to hit, but he like rolled ones, and he drops his sword.
Well, he needs to get a minimum 8. Yeah, he wants a minimum 8.
But we rolled 5 or lower.
It's like a 26%. Jeez.
25.
To fail.
That's 20. No, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 20. Look, we rolled 5 and under. That's all we ever rolled was 5 and under. And all he rolled was between like 16 and 20.
Yeah.
And even regardless of like, I think our fighter somehow got full plate. But like on the first 4 rounds, the dire rat's like 20. Doesn't matter. You have a AC of 23. And we're watching him. And he's like, roll a 20. All right. He just rolled max damage. All right.
Okay.
It's only a D4, but that's 8 damage. So on 2D4s, like 4. All right. And he rolls another 20, and then he rolls to confirm again, and like he just like 6 20s, and like he just ate through the fire.
Yeah.
And we lost our tank. So now it's down to guys who have like an AC between of like 10 to
And you know,
15.
a druid's gonna go all caster for whatever ungodly reason.
Unless it's like Matt, who goes really melee heavy druid with like an AC of,
Shillelagh, take Shillelagh
He's
and
like
Ironwood spells.
AC of 19.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right here.
Yeah, it is.
We will say goodbye. You can say goodbye to Jeremiah. He's going off to home because he's busy.
Yep.
And his ride's here because I can see the light.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right.
See you later.
Good night.
Alright.
Good night. Bye. Okay, now it's. You want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
I'm going to actually talk about it. It's a little bit awkward having an empty seat here because we usually have 3. We have the rules of 3, not the rules of 2. Okay, I'm going to go with my story. Well, actually, this one I've told to you guys, but on a previous recording they got eaten alive by a dire rat.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Well, it was a story that I made, a very steampunk clockwork kind of setting to it because all of us wanted to play with guns, and we found ourselves saying, let's play steampunk because one of the players was a steampunk freak and he thought it'd be really cool. I said, okay, come back to me in 2 weeks, I'll have something worked out. We made a setting that ran with free 5 rules, and you used firearms. Actually, the funny thing is the firearms rules that came out for Pathfinder was almost exactly like the rules I had for 3.5.
Well, yeah, it makes sense though, because it's kind of obvious.
Yeah. And so we're going through this whole crazy thing. We had this very complex story of this guy called Archimedes. We called him Archimedes. I call him Archimedes in the story because he was a great inventor and everything. But in the story, there was the 3 factions of the Clockwork Men, who were mechanical, artificial life that were sentient. Then there was the Invokers, who create life and are kind of like artificers.
Yeah.
And then there was the Mechanics, the people who built the crazy stuff. Now, the rules were about the basic things. None of them cross-class. Like cross-class, faction, whatever it was. Yeah. But Archimedes could. He was a clockwork man who could create life and build. Because that's just how it went. Because the mechanics could build things, but because of the way they think, they can't conceptualize building life.
Yeah.
The Invokers, they thought of creating life and growing things. They couldn't conceptualize artificial. The Clockwork Men had no souls, so they're there. And when Archimedes came, and it was all the same, all of them relied on each other. Yeah. Clockwork Men were forces, kind of like droid armies, and then the Invokers created Clockwork Men, but the Invokers were the ones who gave them life. So it was kind of this whole like stalemate
Yeah,
constantly.
the mechanics make the bodies, Vocus made the soul, and then the clockwork were just the result.
Yeah. But Archimedes was just one that could do all three. And he rebelled because he said, I don't want to fight for you guys' struggles anymore. I refuse. And he lived for hundreds of years, and he created an entire army of his own. He made it practically his own nation. He invaded in neighboring countries. He made his own crazy things, and it went crazy. But in the end, they defeated him, executed him, destroyed his laboratory, and he had hidden labs all over the world. And the secret of becoming like him was lost. Just gone. Nobody knows how he did it. But in the story, how it went was, it was my friend War Dog, Scott, Jace, and at first it was He Who Shall Not Be Gamed.
Yeah,
but
that quickly changed.
Got replaced with our friend Jenna. So, how it went was, Scott heard about like, oh well, I found one of the laboratories. He had his little paper things like DSS Machina, like there, story, go.
Yeah.
But he continue on, and he finds one of the laboratories. He starts building, looking around in the whole crazy place, and he finds War Dog's character, who was a dismembered clockwork man who was still functioning, who has witnessed everything. The place burned, he survived. He was destroyed, he survived. All he had was an arm and a head on a torso, saving his core, which is like a little stone with our soul stones, and you put them into bodies. Yeah. Ripped out his soul stone, put it into a new body after building it for him, and he gave him the story of Archimedean stuff. He said, I was built by Archimedes, I worked for him, I defended the place, I was destroyed, I fell down this hole, and you found me. And I've been watching the sky for exactly, and he names the exact days.
Should have named himself Timmy, because he fell down damn well. That's terrible.
Yes, but he's trying to figure out the secret of Archimedes. But he enters this place and he says, don't go in there, there's dangerous technology in there that went rampant and feral because it could. And he ran across Archimedean technology, and it's scary stuff because it destroys things. And can you just think that players, when you say it's dangerous, they would think. But He Who Shall Not Be Game's character says, I go over to this door, open it up, and I say, you see a lever. He pulls the lever.
You should have made it bright red. Big and red.
No, he just pulls a lever. I said, you see a solo lever right in the middle of this room. He pulls it, it kicks back, so you start seeing the room turn, all this clockwork's going, and you hear a whir up, and then suddenly he runs out of there, and he activates a Titan-like creature that they have to fight. No chance for him, because as a mechanic, he said, who was trying to become one of the Archimedean kind of people, got smushed because he thought a dagger would kill it. No. Keep in mind, there are weapons in there that are very hard to explain, like, for example, we'll call it the
laser rifle?
The door knocker, I guess we can call it. And literally, it was a jack that you shoved under a door, pushed up and out, and knocked things down. He couldn't even conceptualize that. But then there were stranger things like the concussive gun, which literally fired giant balls that shot these spiders that destroyed things, and they destroyed all mechanical stuff, so on and so on. But continuing on, he dies, gets mad, leaves. Jenna comes in like next week, and so on. And we continue on with the story, and they're trying to figure out, hey, let's figure out this Archimedean technology. How do we become like Archimedes? Can we be powerful as him? How do we do this? Like, learn the secret of this. And like, that was the goal of the entire game. They made it themselves. I didn't care. And they find out through story, like they find out information after information, piece of the puzzle. They find one of his notebooks, and it was only half of it. And the other parts of it were in the library, hidden in a cookbook. That was that was miscatalogued, and it was placed in the world history books.
Hilarious.
Yes, cookbook and world history. Well, who would have thought? And so they find that thing finally, and they put it back together, and they say, okay, we can't read it. We just can't read it. And they've learned it's a map. They reorganize it.
So it's like freaking Full Metal Alchemist. How it's hidden in a cookbook. Yeah.
But this came before Brotherhood, before I even knew it existed.
Because the most mundane of things would be a cookbook.
Yes, that's what I chose because I said it's a cookbook. They put it together. Literally, you just have to take pages the front cover, the back cover, and the two middle pages, and you put them together, and there's a map.
That's not that hard.
Well, for a person that...
Oh, well, for somebody who can't conceptualize what they look like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, because we have a Clockwork Man, an Evoker, and a Mechanic, two mechanics actually, they were able to figure it out because they could all see it.
Yep. Okay, so continuing on.
They enter this big, huge, giant hidden lab or workshop, and they find more of this Archimedean technology. They find all this crazy stuff. They deck out Wardog's character to make him look like a boar. He's literally like an iron boar at this point.
Like a boar, like a pig.
Like a pig, yeah. He had a boar head that shot fire. He had an arm that could turn into a drill. The other one could turn into a shotgun.
Makes Godzilla noises.
Yeah, and then every single time he stepped here, Mary had a little lamb. Who knew how that worked? But the story goes on. It's very long. I'm very sorry if you guys are listening to this. And they find a cylinder. It has little pits on it.
It's a code cylinder.
Yeah, it's a code cylinder. And they're looking at it and they say, how does this work? They're like turning it over and over and over again.
Put it in a player piano and it makes music.
No, it was pointed shit.
Yeah, you put it in a player piano. I don't know what player pianos look like.
So they're going along. They're like, okay, how do we do this? And they find out through more stories that they have to find the reader, and the reader, or that was also called the cartographer, could only be the one that read it. But the cartographer was missing. Nobody knows where the cartographer went. And they're going along, and then I make these random rolls and events, and everything at this point was just kind of hand-waving BS because they're trying to find
you're running this game, right?
I'm running it. And so they find him, but that was because they were helping fighting werewolves that were attacking a farm, and he was a scarecrow in the middle of a field. They found his body, and it just clunks right out. And say, well, there's a cartographer. It says right there, everything, it fits. It actually fits. But there's no soul. They find the soul. It's in a working robot in the palace of the king. They find that, and just by sheer dumb luck too, just because he falls out a window. And they place his soul inside there. They read it, and they find out the ultimate, like, scary part. Again, I'm not ripping off Brotherhood on purpose.
Human souls.
100. You must first rip out your own soul and put it into a gem, a soul gem, place into a body. But before that even works, you have to have 100 soul, 100 the sacrifice 100 evokers and 100 mechanics.
It's pretty evil.
And that there, everyone was good.
It's almost as much of a mind trip as the Twilight Zone episode where to serve man, it's a cookbook. It's a cookbook. There, I just ruined that episode for everybody.
Good deal. It's been like 60 years.
Yeah, if you haven't caught up on it, there's a problem.
Yes. So they look at it and they're like, none of us want to do this. None of us think it's worth it because they're all good. At least some line of good or neutral. They don't want to. They don't want to kill people and do evil acts because obviously sacrifice is technically an evil act.
Yeah, it is.
And they were looking at it, I was like, this. I wouldn't have saw that one coming. That one was that. What they did? They took the cartographer and they threw him in a smeltery, and he said, "What did I do?" I'm like, it's not what you did. It's what you know. It's
like, I'm sorry. It's just business. Bam.
Yeah. All they just threw his body in there so no one could find it, and they smelted him into a shield.
Hilarious.
Yes. Now your turn.
Wow. Since after hearing that the trilogy from the couch, the long-winded epic that
it's a long campaign. I can't
causes
help it.
Homer's Iliad to pale in comparison in length.
Yes, and far more detailed.
I am going to keep mine short and sweet because it is mostly a rant about how you reward your players.
You don't.
Oh, you don't. You don't. I reward my players.
I don't reward you.
But I have a particular friend who was running a campaign that was rather awkwardly leveled. Basically, all the stats were just astronomical. We were basically planar gods, but without deific power, deific level. So this was already really awkward because I had a 54 dexterity as a rogue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What are you, like an immortal?
Yeah, we are. We're immortals.
Oh, this is the immortal game you told me about.
I don't know if I told you about it, but
you hinted to how you don't give deific things to players.
Well, no, it was actually very specifically that we were all the players were some sort of house or some sort of, we had our own kingdoms. Think more along the lines of, what is the system? You deal with armies. Birthright. Think along the systems of Birthright. That's how we were running it. Essentially, it was a Birthright game, and we just had really ridiculous stats. It didn't need to be. We needed the numbers crunch. So, we're playing this game, and halfway through the encounter, well, not the encounter, but halfway through the session, I'm getting really tired. It's like 4 a.m. So I want to go to bed. It's my house, right? And I'm like, I need to go to bed. It's like, well, if you go to bed, I'm not going to give you any experience.
Huh?
Exactly. I didn't get experience for that session. Anything. Got nothing for it. Because I had to go to sleep because it's 4 a.m. and I've been gaming since 8
Well,
p.m.
okay. 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Okay, no. That's a marathon right there.
That's a goddamn marathon, and I gotta go to bed. It's like, I'm tired.
Yeah, there's no point to punishing for a person like that. That's kind of dumb. It sounds like he should not be game moment right there, because he'll kill you and then he'll never give you experience ever again for the next 4 sessions. But that's kind of dumb. I at least give XP and sometimes my own Benny system, gold, or rewards. I do more rewards now than I used to because I had a fear for the longest time. If I gave magical rewards to people, they would abuse it like they always do.
Yeah, we'll have to cover rewards in a much more greater scale, but just the audacity of a GM not respecting the physical needs of a player and punishing them for having to go to bed.
Well,
that's retarded.
Well, then just tell them, well, this is my house, and get out.
Yeah, dude, at the time it was, he was staying with me.
No, if you want to keep on living here and sleeping in my house, eating my food, drinking my water, peeing in my toilet...
That's the thing, is like, when you deal with something like that, you can't retaliate. You can't retaliate. I dropped the game because I wasn't going to have it. I wasn't going to have it. I'm just not going to deal with it.
I've dropped games like that before, too.
And it harkens back to our previous session about criticism, but I didn't criticize him at all. I didn't say anything. I just kind of dropped it. I'm like, this is just too much. I'm not going to do this.
There's a point that you cannot deal with.
And then he had to drop his game because no one was having fun with it. I wonder why.
I wonder.
But yeah, that's my spiel. Reward your players appropriately. If they have to go to bed, respect it. Respect your players.
Or get beat by a rubber hose.
Beat by rubber hose, or a +5 nerd bane, i.e. soup on a rope.
Yep, soup on a rope.
It's terrible.
Okay, well, we'll see you guys next time. Jeremiah will probably still here longer. We're trying to find other people right now. It's just...
Oh, we have people. It's just...
They're too busy.
They're too busy.
Yeah.
They're friends.
Okay. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll get a Let's Game out soon for you guys to enjoy.
Ars Magic, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I know we were promising last week, but Jared had to push it back a week because it's a long read.
Let's just say it will come out eventually. We can't make a promise when.
He said next week.
Next week?
Next week.
If it's
three-part series.
Yes. If he doesn't do it,
a 4-part series.
4-part series. Okay.
Oh, actually, we'll do a 3-part series, then we'll cover it afterwards.
Okay. But in short, if he does not do it next week, send hate mail, flame mail, and we will give it to him, and he will read on the show. We'll make him sure he does it.
Oh yeah.
Yep. You'll read the hate.
And I appreciate all the comments that people are leaving. That needs to keep up.
Thanks for new subscribers who have subscribed.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you later.
Yeah, and talk about more stuff.
Yeah.
Try and improve gaming.
Yeah, just
get the message out there.
Yep. Hail gaming. Hail gaming.
Hail gaming.